Hi, everyone. Okay. My name is Alizée. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for the organization. It's been incredible the past 4 days. I'm going to talk today about how Gen Z is rewriting fashion's future. We're going to talk about algorithm dressing, resale culture, shopping behavior, trend cycles, and everything in between. Who am I? Well, I'm not your average Gen Z creative strategist. My name is Alizée. I used to be a professional ballet dancer for many, many years before I discovered my passion for fashion, business, data, and culture. I then decided to move to London, and there I work full-time as a creative strategist at one of the best global design agencies in the world called Design Bridge & Partners. And I'm also the founder of the platform What's Trending Tomorrow. What's Trending Tomorrow is a platform where I decode cultural shifts. I really look into the burning questions that traditional media outlets might not dare to ask. Things like, if data is the new creative director, is fashion still being designed or just optimized? It's really about looking into the tension of data and creativity and really looking into what it is that we can get out of the next generation and learn from older generations. Fashion is dead, or at least the version of it we've known for decades. Fashion in itself is not dead, but the entire system behind it is completely outdated. We have changed so much, and so many things have been moving. Things such as Gen Z is completely reshaping systems. They're completely moving from a linear way of consumption into circular consumption. Algorithms are dictating creativity. We live in a day and age where literally data is defining how collections are going to look like. And also, resale is revolutionizing consumption. So if you don't adapt, you risk complete irrelevance. From couture to code, let's take a trip down memory lane. Pre-2000s, the big fashion houses like Chanel, Dior, Louis Vuitton were completely setting the stage for what style and design was. What was going to be cool was defined by them. Moving forward, early 2000s, traditional media-driven fashion like Vogue, the Condé Nast of the world, were really through their print magazines kind of saying what was in and what was out. Moving on, 2010, 2015, the start of, remember the Coachella 2014 influencers? That's exactly that. It was a moment where we saw the democratization of fashion. For the first time, people like you and me could actually relate to the fits that we saw online and could see ourselves in those high-end fashion brands. 2015, 2019 was really the rise of consumer-to-consumer consumption. Resale platforms like eBay were having a moment. It's not where it is today, but it was definitely getting more and more popular. And that peer-to-peer that I just said was also becoming more relevant. Moving on, 2020, 2023, this is exactly when we were all at home during COVID, making stupid TikTok dances for everyone who wanted to see. But it was a moment there was a massive increase of data. And all that data led to where we are today, and we currently are where algorithms are basically dressing us. And also, we are completely redefining consumption through resale culture. On top of that, 69% of Gen Z believes that brand values matter more than price. Let's think about that for a second. So normally price was always the sole indicator of a purchase decision. But today, brand values are actually more important for this soon to be the biggest generation in spending in the next few years. So if we think about all of that, we can conclude that the fashion industry is literally hanging on by a thread. And this thread really means that, first and foremost, that outdated business model that I just talked about. Secondly, no understanding of the new consumption behaviors of the next generation. Think also about Gen Alpha. And then equally, the resistance to change from the fashion industry. We all know that they like the way that they do things, but things are about to change. And on top of that, there's also huge environmental pressures. The expectations of sustainability are more and higher than ever before. So what do we need to do about this? Well, I've identified 3 key elements that I think will shape the future of fashion. We're going to deep dive into the problem, and then I will also provide you with some concrete solutions. The algorithmic trap, the big juxtaposition, and the missing link. The algorithmic trap. The loop driving trends and mass sameness. So with What's Trending Tomorrow, I interview lots of people, key opinion leaders, industry leaders, but also people like you and I on the street or even at events. This was at the CSM show. I interviewed a fashion student, and I asked her on her opinion about trends. I'm exhausted of trends. It feels like everyone looks the same online and in real life. Like, where is the individuality? Yet I'm guilty of it too. Well, algorithm dressing equals the death of originality. 61% of Gen Z discover fashion now through TikTok. The immense power a platform like TikTok has is something that we've never seen before. On top of that, algorithms are not decided by us, right? How does it work? Well, they decide which content that gets pushed. More people see it. As more people see it, more people will buy the products that are in that content. By people buying more of those products, more content gets created, and ultimately we are feeding a loop that's not ending. We feel stuck. And that's exactly what the algorithmic trap is. And that's where data is gonna dictate design, and creativity will go down, so will innovation, and more so, design will actually become a matter of optimization instead of innovation and new products. So what do we need to do to solve this? Well, we need to reclaim our creativity. We need to design for longevity, for depth, for dopamine, for connection, with a mission, a vision, not just for those viral moments. Virality can work for a little bit, but it's not how you build a deep community. It's not how you build authentic audiences. It's not how you drive conversion either, at least not long term. So we need to make sure that data is a tool for understanding, but not replacing that human creativity. And that's exactly what brands and creatives should focus on in the future. Second one, the big juxtaposition. Gen Z is loud, loyal, and full of paradox. I care about sustainability, but I still buy fast fashion, to be honest. If it's not obvious, I'm not checking. Gen Z is woke yet wasteful. So 62% of Gen Z buys fast fashion monthly, but then we also have 73% that's exhausted by keeping up with trends and feels bad about it. If we look at these stats for 1 minute, you can actually see that this is a complete contradiction, right? We consume, but we say that we want something else. We literally live in 2 realities that coexist at the exact same time. And that tension is exactly what Gen Z is dealing with, and that's exactly why brands are struggling so much to understand that audience. We feel trapped, and ultimately we are at a crossroads because we feel trapped in that constant loop that I just talked about, the algorithmic trap, and we don't know how to get out. So, never has a generation cared more and consumed at the same time. So again, Gen Z is the first generation that actually wants to change things. It's the first generation that actually feels like they need to take action, but at the same time, they don't take action, they do the complete opposite. So they're literally a contradiction dressed in microtrends. So what do we need to do about this? Let's get into it. We need to move from consumption to co-creation. We need to understand them, we need to be there with them. We need to change the narrative of just purchasing new products into actually also as brands, showing them that it's cool to have pre-loved items, showing them that it's cool to care, showing them that we are also caring as brands, and making sure that it feels authentic, real, and honest. It's about also kind of breaking the narrative about pushing products all the time. It's about creating longevity and an authentic connection with your audience. And a great example here is Emma Chamberlain with Vogue and eBay, where she created her own kind of like vintage rack with clothes. Again, that co-creation and that listening to your audience is what will be key. All right, our last one then, the missing link. Gen Z can't change what they don't understand. Sustainability has become a buzzword in fashion. But no one's teaching us why it matters or showing us what really needs changing. This is from someone who I met at the Fashion Academy show in Antwerp. She's very much into it, but very clearly, again, that contradiction. Sustainability has been so diluted, right? So overused. Even when I read it, I'm like, ugh, everyone is talking about this, nobody takes action. And that's where the problem lays. What's missing is that education. If we go a bit further, we think about resale, but nobody actually understands why, especially in Gen Z, right? It's not because something is trending that you actually have the tools to decode a fashion system. A lot of the younger generation just do it because it's trending on TikTok or because it goes viral, but they don't understand the impact of their consumption, of their actions. They don't know the impact on the fashion industry, on the world, on the environment. But at the same time, they do really want to make that change. They just don't have the tools to actually decode that system. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to build cultural literacy because caring is cool. Here are some examples of my favorite creators right now. So, Brenda hashtag, Messi Margiela, One Granary. These are just a few, and Chez Amélie. These are just a few fashion kind of lifestyle outlets that really create a momentum and a type of communication that feels authentic. You understand them. It feels like you can go in conversation. It feels real. And it's also digestible and in a tone of voice that I want to hear, and the majority of our generation does. Another example, the Lies effect. I'm sure most of you know him, but this happened last week in Paris. And Lies is a content creator, also a narrator, a great influence in fashion, let's say, also a Gen Zer. And he wasn't invited to the new Jonathan Anderson Dior show. So what did he do? He organized a view party in the streets of Paris in a little cafe. Now, there in itself, what was so fun was that he invited everyone from his community to just come and watch it on the street with him. He had no idea if someone was going to show up, but it led to a huge, huge success. What's so interesting here, if we look at it, is building cultural literacy by meeting your peers in real life, by having that authentic connection, by sharing opinions, by talking about creativity, about the collection, and that in itself is what's going to be the future. And that's what we'll see more and more of, and you can see it here. The world needs community. I love this so much. You promoted Dior more than Dior promoted itself, and that really tells the story and is a message here. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to educate with Gen Z. We need to make sure that this education is a discussion. It needs to be a dialogue, not a monologue. We're done with that one-way street communication. It's not going to work, and also nobody fucking cares. So we need to make sure that we speak their language in regards to transparency, authenticity, for sure. But the most important thing is actually taking action and showing the action that you take. Making sure that people are involved, giving the agency to that new generation to be part of the conversation, but also of creating potentially products, of brand narratives, of marketing, making them feel heard and feel seen. And here are some examples of, obviously, incredible people that have done this before. The late Vivienne Westwood, who has been doing this for years. But then also Connor Ives with the Protected Dolls t-shirts a couple of months ago. Also really giving a platform to minority groups like the trans community, and really creating such a huge cultural moment and a cultural movement by adding value to a simple t-shirt, but it meant the world, and it actually opened an entire conversation. And adding that value to a piece of clothing is actually what this is all about. Another great example, Willy Chavaria doing the exact same thing and really setting the tone for the industry and being a leader just as he is. All right, 3 key takeaways, we're almost there. Let data inform, not define. Make sure that you use data as a guide, but always let human vision and interpretation and passion come first in everything that you do. Co-create culture, don't just communicate it. If you want to be in culture, which we do, you need to be where your audience is. You need to listen to them, you need to hear to them, you need to talk to them and be there with them. And only then you can position yourself as a friend, as an ally, and as a peer. Make education a dialogue, not a monologue. Make sure that you build that deeper understanding, that cultural literacy, and that it's a two-way communication stream, and that you're there for them. The future of fashion isn't fast. It's fragmented, fluid, and deeply personal. And for the first time in years, I'm actually going to say that there's a counter-narrative, in my opinion, to just being digitally present. For the first time, it's about being there with your audience in real life, having those community events, those moments, those real interactions supported by digital. Going back to print, going back to traditional moments. That's something that we will see more and more of, and together we can build a world where style signals substance, trends reflect truth, and fashion becomes a force for change. For the first time, we are done with the quick trends. Style will finally be about cultural moments. Trends will also be a moment where we can educate our audience, and it will be more than just stupid marketing push or algorithmic push on TikTok. And as a collective effort, we can really make that change in the fashion industry and also on the world in regards to culture, environmental pressures, and social. So, thank you so much, guys. That was it.